I myself was guilty several times in the past of taking a story or reading a story regarding a school or an organization, a business, or so on, implementing gender neutrality in the environment around it. And the reasons that they would always give was to appease the transgender, if it was in terms of a school, the transgender and the gender confused children in the vicinity, or at the very least, they were bending the knee to the demands from campaigners and activists from the trans community. But it was not that long ago, actually, that I started to realise that these figments of the narrative's imagination regarding gender non-conforming children and so on and so forth, they don't exist, really. They're so few and far between. So it was either a case of they were implementing all these measures on the off chance that they came across one of these children that would benefit from an environment such as that, or there was something else. And as luck would have it, I eventually did find out that, to the best of my knowledge anyway, it is something else, and it's actually feminism, because of the concept regarding gender stereotyping, gender roles, and so on and so forth. They're hell-bent on empowering girls at any with all their might. They want girls to be coerced into different subjects to which they currently choose, because they feel that if they do that, that will somehow reduce the gender pay gap in later life. You know, they basically want to switch the roles around. Fuck up boys in the process if they can, because they seem to be hell-bent on that, I ever given notice. Nonetheless, so these feminists are sneaking their crap in the back door, and they're quite prepared to take a step back and allow transgender, non-existent transgender, or gender non-conforming children to take the flak. And that is what's happening here. And as I say, when you read the headline, it does come across as this is to pander to these people, and it's insanity. And as much as an environment like this would benefit a child or children that did come under that realm of confused to a degree, the chances of that school having one or more children that would come under that category is pretty damn slim, nonetheless. So the school in question is hit back after criticism from parents and papers alike. A letter purporting to be from a parent at Lee North Primary School have been posted for doors around the neighbourhood, with the head teacher, Aunt Hotler, being concerned, as the eye. The letter has been spread around and has angered the community as a whole. We are feeding back to parents, and I'm working with the local authority to respond. The letter claims that staff have been instructed to no longer use the words boy and girl to describe the children. This removes every child at the school's gender and causes confusion in children who otherwise would be perfectly happy. Jesus, fuck it down. They also plan to give boys the option of wearing. Oh, for fuck's sake. What did I say? Where will this lead? Mixed sex toilets, mixed changing areas, which is indecent. The contents of the letter have been criticised. Bryn Martin, Director of Children and Learning at Southend Council, said the training referred to in the letter is one part of a much larger enhanced health and wellbeing programme. 22 schools have already taken part. Oh, well, that's okay then, that's acceptable. Progressive politics. Politicising children as young as possible, all in the name of progression and diversity and inclusion. It is nothing short of indoctrination for the most part. The proof's in the pudding. Look around you. If you're an adult yourself, you know, you didn't need these measures incorporated into your school life and you're quite fine. You know your wrongs from your right. But yet these kids need to be indoctrinated. These kids need to know all about modern Britain. Get a grip. From forcing transgenderism upon pupils, as the anonymous author of the letter has suggested, schools partaking in the programme seek to teach children to understand and accept differences in others and to counter potential incidents of bullying. Okay, yes, let's refer to everybody in a gender-neutral environment as gender-neutral. Let's not jump to assumptions, because that'll somehow prevent bullying. They keep throwing about bullying as an excuse for all these implementations, and it does wear thin with me. I've made videos on this for God knows how many years, and I've constantly criticised that argument that they put forth regarding bullying, because at the end of the day, especially in terms of primary school age, how can children bully kids? How can kids be transphobic, let's just say, towards a potential transgender child in the vicinity, if none of the children knew what transgenderism was, and that child wasn't exploring his gender options. The child may very well be struggling with his identity, but the children around him wouldn't know the bullying on the basis of transgender related prejudices if it wasn't for them being taught about it. So are they being taught about that as well as this implementation? Regardless, the implementation, as much as it would have, as I said, a benefit to a child that was gender diverse, quote unquote, but for the most part it does have its roots deeply entwined with feminism, as much as they won't admit it outright. All materials used are age appropriate. That doesn't fucking matter. I'm so sick of that argument too. I mean, these people, honestly, are they so taken aback by the great idea and the concept of progressive policies and politics that they can't honestly understand that there's something a bit wrong with trying to justify gender neutral teaching and transgender issues, as well as a multitude of other things regarding diversity, etc., to a bunch of primary school children, and they can't see anything wrong with it. They constantly justify their cause and come away with some amount of BS, and they honestly, I mean, like, do they not have somebody proofread these things? Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable, man. It's age appropriate, apparently. Oh yeah, fucking age appropriate. The detailed letter makes claims of indoctrination and state silencing children who may not agree with a child cross-dressing as bullying. However, Charity Stonewall claims education is vital and key with this issue. Again, let's revoke that clearly by what I just said about a minute prior. Look around you. Probably the person from Stonewall that made that claim didn't have that sort of teaching when they were in school, and they grew up relatively fine. Well, that's questionable. They weren't if they're from Stonewall, but nonetheless, these things were never a requirement and an essential and integral as part of our curriculum, our education. But yet, you fast forward to the modern day when diversity and progression and inclusion and oppression are such rampant issues within our society. And the left wing goes further and further to the left and takes society along with it on its merry way. These seem to be essential and law, for the most part, adaptations to the curriculum in order to get the children on board as young as possible. All in the name of inclusion and diversity. It's vital, it's key so they can find their true potential. Nobody believes that shit. I don't even think the people that push for it believe that shit. They know fine well at the end of the day that children are still going to bully. They'll bully for something else. So when it's all said and done, when the bullying continues, the only difference between, as I've said multiple times before, the only difference between then and currently now is that they will be indoctrinated. They will be left-wing bullies instead of just kids. It's pretty fucked up when you take their age into consideration. Sidonie, Bertrand Shelton, head of education programs at Stonewall, said nearly half of LGBT pupils, including 64% of trans students, are bullied for being themselves at school. And we have no way of validating these statistics. I mean, these statistics came out around about the time when they were wanting to incorporate this into the education system. Now, these same statistics wouldn't exactly have sounded very compelling and thought-provoking if it said 5% or 6% or 10%. So the higher the better, as it gives a bit more of a punch, a bit more oomph when they try to make their point, you know? 64% of trans students. I mean, how many kids are we talking about here, though? 5? You know what I mean? So out of that 5 children, 64%, okay. You know what I mean? This is why it's so vital to create a supportive school environment. Oh, it's vital to create a supportive school environment so we can teach children all about the wonders of inclusion and diversity and progression. You know what's funny? They don't teach children in schools anymore anything related to like being proud about their country. And the excuses I've heard from many people in the past is that the reason for that is because they don't want to kind of coerce children by mistake into becoming far-right fascists and whatnot in the future. But yet they blank refuse to accept even the notion that incorporating all this crap into the education and the academia it does give a possibility, or it does present a possibility, sorry, for kind of coercing children by mistake or intentionally, one of the two, into becoming confused about their gender or thinking that they're something other than what they actually are. You know? Double standards, is it nuts? Anyway, I'll leave in that notes. Peace.